live. Welcome to the West Ham pregame show. My name is Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. This is the Arsenal Vision post-match podcast pregame live show. The important thing is not the wordiness of what we are doing. It is that we are doing it at all. And so here we go. We are live, and let's get right to it. We are going to do exactly what you expect, which is some Schadenfreude in a moment. But before we do that, let's get to the most important point. And that is the lineup predictions for the day. So, not predictions. We actually know the lineup. So we are going to talk lineups. And we'd love to get your comments, get your questions, and answer those all on the pod right now. So we will get to the United game. I assure you we will get to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in. But what I want to do right now is just cover the lineup. And obviously the big news are the two players coming back into the side. Ceballos, I think, was an obvious one. He looked great in his cameo last weekend against Fulham, who maybe aren't a total dumpster fire. I mean, they were down 4-1 to Leeds, but they fought back. They did get the 3 goals. Maybe there's something there that can lead us to believe that that was not just us beating up a crappy team. I mean, they're crappy, but how crappy? So the big news, though, is Saka coming back in. And I think this was a move that we kind of hoped would happen in the Fulham game. And it means Maitland-Niles dropping out. And I guess my reaction to it is just, this is something that I think needed to happen, right? Because if we are going to face a team that's going to let us attack, and it looks like West Ham are going to be in a back 3, they're probably going to try to soak up pressure, whereas Fulham maybe came onto us a little bit more and tried to press us. I think that Saka is the more attacking option. And given that we're, using Tierney as that inside, left-sided center back and more of an inside player, Saka can now get wide, force West Ham out of their shape a little more, maybe be a little more effective in the final third. And that is going to leave us a little more vulnerable. Players like Antonio can hurt you, but I do think that it really is a case of Saka giving us that cutting edge in the final third. Obviously, look, the big news, if you want to call it big news, the thing that we are going to have to discuss again, you see it on the screen there, is Pepe is on the bench. Willian does get another start. I think if this is going to be a meritocracy, it's very simple. Willian played well. He was a man of the match candidate. He had a couple of assists and was involved in the third, so really involved in all 3 goals for us. So he keeps his place. And for right now, if it's working, so be it. Pepe maybe will be the option for the bigger games, a player who can more individually influence a game where we're not really on top and in possession a lot, and a great option from the bench, not to mention recently had a baby. There may be fitness issues. There may be a matter of just him looking sharp in training. I think the one thing that all of us have right now is that we finally trust the manager, and trusting the manager means trusting his lineup calls. So I am really perfectly fine with Pepe being on the bench for right now, and we'll just sort of see how it goes from there. So let's get to some questions right away. Obviously, Pepe not starting again, becomes a talking point, and we know that that's going to be. So another one here, what formation are we making it? I think it's the same thing. I think it is the out of possession sort of 3-4-3 that we've been using. In possession, it does move more to a back 4, and I would imagine that Saka probably takes up the wider position. So, we'll probably see that sliding back 3 where Tierney and Gabriel and Holding are there, and then Bellerin and Saka will push up. Bellerin will probably become part of a midfield grouping, cutting inside, and Saka, I guess, overlapping, allowing Aubameyang to get a little more central. I do have to say I love the lineup, and obviously a lot of trust being shown in Gabriel with Luiz fit. Now maybe just fit enough for the bench, so we'll have to see. Interesting. Actually, here's one. Yep. Let's go to this right away. Surprised to see Kolasinac on the bench, given the rumors of him discussing a move away. I think when it comes to using players that are linked with a move away, the question becomes, are you putting him on the bench to try to tell the team, hey, we're willing to use this guy. If you want him, you got to come get him. You got to come make us an offer. Leaving players out of the team altogether, I think shows that you can kind of live without them. So what that says to me is maybe negotiations aren't so advanced, because if he was on the brink of leaving, I can't imagine he'd be in the team. But apparently not on the brink of leaving. And as you look at the lineup, let's do this for a second. Let's bring the lineup up. We can get the top third off the screen there for a second and look at it visually. I think the bench is interesting, right? So David Luiz fit again, Kolasinac in there, Maitland-Niles, another defensive option, El Neni. I have to say that even though I thought he was good in the first game, I'm not sure what you're getting from him as a bench option other than just soaking up minutes because he's not going to really change a game. So the only thing I'll say about this bench is it's really Pepe and Nketiah are the only ones that you would think can really turn the game. And so, Pepe would be the one you'd look for if we needed it late. Now, hopefully that won't be the case. I imagine it most likely will not be the case. I'm expecting us to play well again, but it would definitely be a situation where you look at the bench and not a lot there to change it. Now, I like Maitland-Niles defensively. I think a lot of us have really warmed to him defensively, but we're not really sure what he gives us going forward yet. Again, nothing from El Neni, nothing from Kolasinac, nothing from Luiz, and obviously not Matt Macy. So we'll touch on this a little bit more. Let's get a couple more questions in, and then I think the most important thing we have to do is obviously laugh at United. Now, because I am doing this and I don't want to be Jinxerson, can somebody in the comments confirm to me that Manchester United have gone on to lose? Because that is definitely something that I want to be sure of before I get to that. Paul Thorne says, surprised Nelson not on the bench. Move. I'm kind of curious what we're going to do with the young players this season. Willock, not involved. Nelson, not involved. Smith Rowe, not involved. Everybody says, yes, it's 3-1. Yeah. 3-1 in the 96th. Yeah, it's over. Man United lost 3-1, and that means I can go to the banners. Let's do it. And I can pop up Schadenfreude. Yeah. So look, I think one of the things that we have been talking about all summer is Chelsea and United. Chelsea and United. That's the battle for top four. Chelsea and United. And Chelsea looked like garbage against Brighton. Now they've got a lot of firepower and they still came away with a win. But United, boy, did they look bad. And losing 3-1 at home, I have to say, did not notice any difference in the atmosphere at Old Trafford with the fans not there. Sounded just like a full 80,000 at Old Trafford for all 90 minutes. So really enjoyed that. Ole's at the wheel. There was an article that came out the other day saying that Manchester United feel that the fixation with transfers has cast a negative pall over their season. This fixation, obviously, with the Sancho move, casting a pall over their season. And I just have to say kudos to them for eliminating transfers as the story that casts a negative pall over their season, and instead putting the focus on their football casting a negative pall over their season. I really thoroughly enjoyed that, and I hope everybody watching did as well. And yeah, I mean, you really do. These are the times you really do want to be on Twitter. I have to admit, I'm missing that just a little bit because you're not going to get much better trolling than a time like this. And look, watching it, it's not even like Palace were that good. They just didn't really trouble them. The thing that I got worried about is Palace didn't seem to, really care very much about going forward and still managed to get 3 goals and along with a hilarious penalty. Well, we got to put this on the screen. Would we dare go back after Zaha? For the love of God, no. I know Zaha got 2 goals today, and I know that Zaha is good, but we have all the forwards. Can we please just go after a midfielder? No, we are not going to meet whatever even lower price demands there are from Palace for Zaha, given that we have literally 72 million pounds of Nicola Pepe sitting on our bench. We've got young players we want to bring through. No, I think we can pass on Zaha and please go get Partey and Aouar. So, I do think that it is obviously a case today of this being a pivot game. And we talked about it on the podcast, and I want to reference it again because, I look at the fixtures that are coming down the pike and they're tricky, right? We do have United and not Chelsea, but United and City and Liverpool and Sheffield. It can be tricky, and Leicester's not the easiest. That's a cup game. I think we also have them in the league. This is it. We need these 6 points. First of all, United didn't play match week 1. They now have no points through their first game, but they could be 6 points behind us with a game in hand as we head into a tough stretch. You have a case where Chelsea didn't look that great. Spurs obviously hilariously lost their first game and now struggled past Lokomotiv Plovdiv with 9 men to get through the next round of qualifying for the Europa League. If things can break right for us early in the season, that could be really important, especially before we get the business done, assuming that we do get the business done. So let's go back and address some questions. And if you do have any questions, let us know, because we would love to. I say us. It's a vocal tick. It's a natural thing to say us, but nobody wanted to join me today, too focused on, I don't know, the football or something like that to do a live stream. So let's get the Schadenfreude off the screen. Let's get lineup reaction. You know what? Here, let's do some predictions. Let's get your predictions. I'll pop your predictions up on the screen. I'm going to say a 3-1 for Arsenal today. I'm not convinced we're going to keep a clean sheet. Obviously, switching Saka for Maitland-Niles might make us a little more vulnerable. I think Gabriel under a little more pressure today than we saw in the first match week. We've got a 3-0. We've got a 2-1. We've got a 3-1. We've got a 4-0. Oh, wait. 40. I assume 40-0. That's even bigger than my end of podcast prediction of 10-0 to the Arsenal. So credit to you. Oh, well, I got to get this one on the screen. My favorite one. Here we go. There it is. We'll talk to you after Arsenal 10. West Ham 0. It's going to come true once. I know the women won 9-1. So if the men want to one-up them and go 10-0, I would definitely be okay with that. Now, here's a question, not a prediction, but a question. Are we legitimately thinking of Everton as top 6 this season? Everton are an interesting team because I don't think I rated Dominic Calvert-Lewin appropriately. I mean, I think he is better than maybe I gave him credit for. And I think that they could challenge for the top 6. And I certainly think the team that you could see drop out of the top 6 would be Tottenham Hotspur. I have not watched the documentary on Amazon yet. Tim Clark from the Arsenal Mouse podcast has been watching it. And in our back channel on WhatsApp, he's been feeding us some of the reaction to it. And it sounds excellent. Now, all right, so yes, I know they did sign Gareth Bale or, get him on the 1 year. I understand he's already arrived crocked. He is a crock. He will probably play about 8 or 9 games for them while they wind up benching someone like Bergwijn, someone who they actually should be leaning into. I just love a Spurs team leaning into Jose, old, injured players, turning away from the young players, from the players they could really build around. I mean, obviously, look, Bale will score double hat tricks against us twice, but those will be the only 2 games he plays this season. And apparently from watching the documentary, what Tim says is you can just see already that there is a contempt for Jose, and it is all about him. So, that really, I enjoy it. The documentary really is the football equivalent to The Office. I have heard that said as well. So, oh, wait, we've got some help here. Bergwijn. Is that correct? Bergwijn? Well, we can call him Benchwine because he's not going to be playing, thankfully. Yeah, I mean, I have to say he's good. Yep, Reguilon is good. But again, the buyback clause. You have to say, everybody says that Levy is so canny with the transfer business, but routinely taken advantage of by Real Madrid, quite hilariously. So back to score prediction. Yeah, I think 3-1. I do think Aubameyang will get the new contract off to a good start. I could see him scoring again. How are we feeling about Thiago against us? Yeah, look, if Thiago was going to go anywhere, Liverpool's fine with me. I mean, I think we would admit we are not yet competing with Thiago. Or Liverpool for that matter. I think it's fair to say that, by the time we hopefully have a team that is ready to compete with Liverpool, Thiago's going to really be at the very tail end. So while it does make them better, I would prefer Thiago go to Liverpool, be on a team that we're not really worrying about just yet. And then by the time we are hopefully worrying about being ahead of them, Thiago will be on the downslope. I actually think the more worrying move for them is Diogo Jota, who I rate. And I think, again, just a savvy move where they get a young kid, a 23-year-old coming into his prime, who if he hits just right, maybe he becomes the heir apparent to a Mane or a Salah. Next summer, they sell one of them for $70 million and they reload. I think everybody gets tired of me in particular and people praising Liverpool's business. But you see the way they do it, and there is a method to the madness, which I think certainly a lot of us are hoping there is at Arsenal, and the noises and the indications are that we are getting better. Oh, you got to love this as we lean into a little Schadenfreude. Glazers out is trending. I do have to laugh, right? Like, the Glazers are terrible owners. They've saddled the club with debt, but like, shouldn't that team be beating Crystal Palace? Like, I mean, if you want anyone out at United, shouldn't it be Ed Woodward out? And his new thing now is apparently he's going to outsmart Dortmund by letting the Sancho pursuit go to deadline day, which I'm sure will work out just great. What am I drinking? I wish it was alcohol. It is, are you ready for this? Diet Peach Snapple. And I swear it's just because it's what was in the fridge and I grabbed something. I was running out of time. I apologize. I promise there is an old fashioned in my future so that the instant reaction pod on Patreon after our 3-0 win will be extra spicy, have a little extra spice to it. So, I'm curious. Look, I tend to be a little hysterical. And here I get booed for, yes, boo me. Fine, boo me. I can take your boos. You can boo me. Yep, I get it. Not great. I just needed something. Yes, I am here for stirring the pot about this. Elliot, not stir the pot, but I agreed 100% on the goalkeeper talk yesterday. Look, we went a little too big on goalkeeper talk on a podcast where we were basically just talking about a rumor. But if you missed it, basically the issue was the question of, should we be taking the money we got from Emi Martinez, the 20 million, and turning that into two goalkeepers in Runar Ragnarsson, I think is his name, and then Raya, right? Who could be like 10, 12 million. And my attitude was like, I thought we sold Emi Martinez to get money that we could invest in these areas where we're weak, like midfield. I think that seems pretty evident. And, it's not that I don't want to plan for the future, but also Leno is 36, I believe, 38. So for goalkeepers, he's young and he could be our keeper for 6 seasons. Do we not rate him? Is that the issue? Do we see a sale to Bayern Munich in the future? And so we figure we can flip him for big money, but then we need to start planning for the future. So that's what Raya is. I don't know. I think, maybe we feel Raya is absolutely nailed on to be excellent. And if we pass on him now, we'll be looking at a guy that's a 50 million pound keeper we could have gotten. I guess Runar Runarsson is an Icelandic screenwriter and director born January 20, 1977, age 43 from Wikipedia. You know what, Vanig? I believe he is also a pretty mediocre goalkeeper from Liga who is not a screenwriter, but is a cheap backup option. And by the way, totally fine with spending $2 million to get a cheap backup option on Leno and let Leno play all the games. My argument on the pod was simply, you look at Liverpool, got by with Adrian. You look at City, they get by, and Chelsea don't even have a good number one keeper, let alone number two. I just want the money reinvested into the areas where we're weakest. And even if you think a backup keeper is important, I don't think you would argue that a backup keeper is more important than starting midfielders, than getting Hassim Aouar, for example, or Aouar. So that was really the argument. And if you're wondering what the refrigerator talk is, I made the analogy that it's like a family that needs to buy a new car and has 2 refrigerators and sells 1 refrigerator and buys 2 new refrigerators with the money and now has 3 refrigerators. It was, in the moment, a bad analogy. And I have now repeated it, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's move on from the goalkeepers. I will agree with this. We need Aouar in the worst way. I definitely think you can see that if we're going for Aouar, what it suggests to me is that Arteta wants to play a midfield 3 because Aouar's not going to play in the 2 in a back 3, right? You're not going to have a double pivot of Xhaka and Aouar or Aouar and Ceballos. It doesn't have the solidity, right? Because Aouar's not helping anybody defend anybody. So I think if we go get Aouar, that tells you we're switching to a midfield 3 and we're going to play what Clive sometimes called grown-up football. I think if we go for Partey could be an alternative for Xhaka. He could partner Ceballos or vice versa, but I don't think you're going to play Xhaka, Ceballos, and Partey. I think that doesn't give you the penetrative player in there. That's a fun word to throw out there. Over and under on number of VAR checks tonight. I just hope like 0, 0.5, and I'll take the under. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's say, so Sensei Unai says we are back 4 today. I don't see that. Do we think we're a back 4? Get in the comments. Let me know. I would assume it's just a straight swap of Saka for the Ainsley Maitland-Niles role. And I don't see how you can look at it as a back 4. I mean, I guess it could be, well, let's see. Let's pop it up on the screen so that I can read it too. Get rid of the branding here. So what would the back 4 be? It'd be Bellerin, Gabriel, Holding, and Tierney. The midfield 3 would be Xhaka, Ceballos, and Saka, and Willian, Aubameyang, Lacazette. The way they've written that out, I'm going to give Sensei Unai some credit, and I'd love to hear some comments. Could it be, the way they've written it out, it's a back 4, right? Bellerin, Gabriel, Holding, Tierney. Midfield of Xhaka, Ceballos, and Saka. Front 3 of Willian, Aubameyang, Lacazette. That is a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, the way they've written it. But I still suspect it'll be Bellerin, Gabriel, Holding, Tierney, Saka as the 5. So a back 3 of Gabriel, Holding, and Tierney, with Saka and Bellerin as wingbacks, Xhaka and Ceballos as the midfield 2, Willian, Aubameyang, and Lacazette. And we do know in possession, this gets funky. If you read Louis Ambrose's tactics column that he does for our blog, it definitely gets to be back 4-ish when we're in possession. So where was it? Yep. What does he say? Emil Grieve says, so when we press, it's going to be 3-5. Yeah. Yep. That sounds right to me. And I think we will try to be very front-footed. The interesting thing tonight, Williams center attack mid maybe. If that's the case, then what? Saka's on the right wing. Could happen. He's played out there a little bit at times. The thing that's going to be interesting to me in this game, Fulham were really, really bad. And I think we saw they had a little something against Leeds today, but, again, Leeds put 4 past them and they're going to be bad. One of the things they did against us that kind of surprised me is they came at us and pressed us when we tried to play out of the back. Real quick, answer a question here. Hey, Elliot, are you doing a hot mic today? Live stream and instant reaction pod for patrons. Can't do the hot mic today because I do have to watch the baby during the game. So I will have a baby in my arms and an old fashioned, and nothing can possibly go wrong with that, I assure you. But yeah, I think the thing for me that is going to be really interesting that we want to watch for today is just, will we be able to create chances and break down West Ham if they don't come on to us, if they don't press us? With this playing out from the back thing is great. And, I love it, but it only really works if you try to play out from the back and they come and they press you and they put you under pressure. If West Ham don't want to do that, then we have to create chances in possession without being able to create those transitional moments. So we can either press them deep or we can try to have possession and break them down. I have to say, though, I'm thrilled they're playing a back 3. If you think back to the Leicester game against, the Leicester game was against Leicester, during Project Restart, they played that first half in the back 3, and we absolutely dominated them. And I think Aubameyang in particular is so intelligent with his runs, and the back 3 gives him the perfect opportunity to run into space that's left by wingbacks. I don't think it sets up well for the kind of runs that he wants to make. And as long as someone can spot him with that, maybe it's Willian drifting inside and playing Aubameyang in, or it's Lacazette coming short and exchanging passes with Aubameyang. But I think we can exploit those spaces out in the wide positions against a back 3, and that's my hope. So we're about 15 minutes from kickoff. So I'll go about another 5 minutes, take a couple more questions if you have any. Don't throw the baby. Yep, will not. Toddler Life 2.0 with 3 drink emojis. You really do need the drinks. I'm going to level with you. Ooh, we have our first potentially skeptical take. I don't know about today. Ted, I got to tell you, I feel pretty good. But if you think back to last season and you said, what was our downfall? Even under Emery, to some extent, you could say he set us up to be competitive in big games. The downfall was the small games. You think about the Brighton games. You think about, obviously, the famous Crystal Palace game that kept us out of top 4 a couple seasons ago. It's time for us to show that we can really push these teams around. And I think it is a good sign that we are going with Saka. Tierney might be injured in the warm-up per James Ollie. James Ollie just said Tierney may be injured in the warm-up. That either means we draft David Luiz in or it's Kolasinac. And I mean, I wish I had the old-fashioned now, not the Snapple. I'm going to have to go with Alex Ryan on this one. FFS. Indeed, my friend. FFS. Are we worried about Antonio? Yeah, I mean, you also wonder, so what do we do? If Tierney's out, would he bring Ainsley Maitland-Niles in to be a left center back? I think that's pushing it. Would he just bring Luiz in and move Gabriel to the left? I think that's the most obvious one, but can Gabriel go in 90 minutes? I mean, how healthy is that neck? I think it was a neck injury. We could go to a back four. That's absolutely what we could do, but I wouldn't do it with Maitland-Niles on the left. Jordan, I still think that makes us a little too easy to shut down, especially on the side where we want to get Aubameyang in advanced positions. Kola should stay in that refrigerator. Well, we do have 3 of them now. That joke is just not working anymore. AMN to right back if KT is hurt. If he goes to right back, what are we doing then? Moving Bellerin to a center back position, and then you go Gabriel, Holding, and Bellerin. I still think it's either Kolasinac or Luiz that comes in for me, and Kolasinac then playing that left-sided center back role. I think that would be the swap, just Kolasinac for Tierney, and we've seen Kola play that role. I don't think we've seen him play it well. Unless Luiz is really fit, in which case it'll be Luiz and Gabriel moves left and he's a left footer. So I think that would make sense too. Something wrong with Tierney. Yes. Apparently Tierney is injured, and that is the rumor coming from James Ollie. So Kola and Saka on the left. That's what I'm expecting, unless Luiz is fit to start the game. You would sort of hope if he was named on the bench that he's fit enough to start a game if needed. So we'll see what happens. This is an important question, I think. Is Saka and Ceballos good enough for top 4? So I've been thinking a lot about this because I think it is presumed that we are going to get some midfield business done. And if we get the midfield business done, then I think top 4 really should not be an expectation necessarily, but it should be there for us. If we don't get the midfield business done, it is going to really depend on whether Saka and Ceballos is good enough. And I think we just don't use midfield that much, but will that work against smaller teams? We're going to find out today. Can Saka and Ceballos dominate a game against a smaller team in a back 3? So it's confirmed. Several people have confirmed it. Tierney out, Kola in. Does anybody know what the rumored Tierney injury is? The really scary thing here is just that, Tierney did have some injury. Now, look, I'm loath to bring up a hernia injury as an injury concern when we got him, because hernias can be fixed and you don't get them again the way they fix them. And I know this because I've had it done, actually. Not that you wanted to know about that part of my body, but I would say that Tierney being a fitness concern is definitely a thing that could cause you a problem this season. So let me freak out about my pet peeve. Are you guys okay if I do a little Elliot thing and rant about this? Oh, according to Charles Watts, hip problem. That doesn't sound good. Hip problem does not sound good. Daniel Aspergren says has to be 4-3-3 then, right? I don't think so. I don't think it's a 4-3-3. I think it's a straight swap Xhaka for Tierney, and it's, Kolasinac for Tierney. I think it's Kola right there next to Gabriel. Don't rant, man. Don't rant. I'm just going to rant for a second, Patrick, just for a second. All right. You know what? We have a vote for a rant. Okay. We have a second vote for a rant. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. He walked off on his own, though. Real quick update there. Good. I love getting these updates in real time. Okay. So quick rant. Kolasinac is on his way out of the club, I would think. We are starting him now in a position that isn't even his natural position, as a left-sided center back in a 3, not as a wing back, which is really what he was in Germany when he was in the team of the season there. This is a guy we want to move on from, and we're starting him. I was told, and maybe wrongly, that what makes Cedric such a canny purchase is not only is he a great right back who's excellent in the final third, but he can play left side also. Where's Cedric? Allow me to just do something here really quickly so that we can make sure I'm not out of my mind. I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't see, let's bring that up bigger. You can't see that. Okay. Anybody see the name Cedric? Cedric Suarez on there? I do not see the name Cedric Suarez on that screen. 2 games now. We signed this guy to 4 years into his 30s, presumably because he can be a backup to both sides at fullback. He is, as we've been told, excellent in the final third. Well, Maitland-Niles and Bellerin are still there. Maitland-Niles on the bench, Bellerin starting, Saka's starting. Now Kolasinac comes in, and there's still no place for Cedric. Now you could say, well, look, all right, Elliot, I take your point, but Cedric's not going to play left-sided center back. But just again, we're now in a position where Tierney's out, right? And we have this need, and the need is being filled by a guy we are trying to get rid of, not by the guy that we signed to 4 years, into his 30s to be a backup. It's a move that still just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Amen, better than Suarez. I mean, look, I agree. It just, it is one of those things that you have to wonder. Cedric, locker room captain. We do have a lot of dressing room leaders. We have David Luiz, we have Willian, we have Aubameyang. What's Clive's opinion on tonight? You know what? If Clive wants to give his opinion on tonight, he can come on the live stream and give his opinion. Let's start to wind down, though, because it's going to be kickoff time soon, and I do have to get that old fashioned ready. I just want to say that, obviously, I hope Tierney is okay. I think long-term with the games we have coming up, and there are big games coming up, let's do this. Let's just get a quick look at the fixture list. All right, what do you say? Should we get a quick look at the fixture list? You guys okay with that? All right, let's see. Share screen. Here we go. Doing this in real time. We're going to go to the fixture list. Share. Okay. There we go. Let's bring it up full screen. Got to get the branding off the screen, though, so you can look at that. I would say, all right, it's West Ham, then it's Leicester in the Cup, then Liverpool away, Sheffield home, City away, Leicester home, United away. I mean, you would like to have Tierney for those games. So I want to let you go because I know we're about to kick off. So basically, all I want to say is thank you so much for joining. It does mean a lot. Yep, possible hip injury. That is definitely the concern. And most importantly, before we go, let's just make sure one more time that we get a laugh at Spurs. At United. Always laughing at Spurs, but laugh at Spurs because they almost lost to Lokomotiv Plovdiv and had to beat them with 9 men. And laugh at United for losing to Crystal Palace. And hopefully we have a great game tonight. So everybody, I just want to say thanks for joining. We'll be doing more of these and hopefully better ones of these where we are joined by other people. And I'm not just sitting here talking at you, but love you guys. Really do love you. Thank you so much for joining. Come on, you Gunners. Come on, Arsenal. Big win today. Hopefully good news about Tierney at full time. And then maybe at halftime they announce Aouar and Partey and we just go on and screw top 4. We put Thiago and Liverpool in the ground and win the title. Who knows? Whole season still ahead of us. So wherever you are, I raise a glass to you, a better glass than this as soon as I can get the drink ready. I hope you have a wonderful game. And more than anything, we love you and we appreciate you being here. So we'll say goodbye. We'll come back with an instant reaction pod for patrons after this and the regular pod on Monday. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you after Arsenal 10, West Ham 0.